Right friends, welcome back to editorial discussion. Today is 25th January. Learning Space wishes each one of you a happy Republic Day. And before going ahead, let me tell you 2-3 important points. And we have already started Ethics, Integrity and Aptitude by Mr. K. Srikanth and Modern India History by Shruti Reddy. And these modules started on 21st January. And I would like to inform you, except polity, ethics, integrity and aptitude, all other static subjects, they will be completed before April end. If you look at geography, if you look at art and culture, if you look at medieval India, if you look at modern Indian history, all these will be completed before April end. And with regard to medieval India, Mr. Mayank Chaudhary will deal with medieval India in the month of March, and modern Indian history already started by Shruti Reddy and she will complete before April end, right? And Binu Krishna madam will complete geography lectures and art and culture before April. So therefore, before the end of April, we are going to complete several static subjects which are, please note down, already ancient history completed, and modern Indian history, then medieval history, then if you look at the geography, if you look at art and culture, all the subjects will be completed before April end. That is the important point to note, right? But two subjects, one is polity, second one is ethics, integrity and aptitude, they will go beyond April, right? And these two subjects started from 21st January. This is what I would like to inform. And we are happy to inform the revision modules for UPSC Civil Services Preliminary Exam will start from 6th February, and they are going to be highly comprehensive, and this time we are making further modifications in comparison to last year. So this year they will be highly comprehensive. More than 100 modules we are going to present within a span of 100 days. So our program starts from 6th February and it will end by 15th May. So therefore, it is a 100 days program. During these 100 days, more than 100 modules will be published, or you can say more than 100 modules will be uploaded. So please do not forget, UPSC Prelims 2019 program is starting from 6th February and it will end on 15th May. We want to end by 15th May so that you will have sufficient time for further revision. And in these 100 days, more than 100 modules will be presented, comprehensive modules, because we have done a lot of research at Learning Space and certainly that will be beneficial to you. And one more aspect is, several students are asking for discount, but let me tell you clearly, there will not be any discount. As we go forward, there will be slight increase because we are bringing more and more subjects, right? So this is what I would like to mention with regard to revision modules. And the next important aspect is, several students are asking for APPSC Group 1 modules in Telugu, and we have some plan for this with regard to the current affairs of APPSC Group 1, right? We would like to announce it as a separate video today, right, through the YouTube channel. So we would like to announce our plan of action with regard to Group 1 APPSC, right, that will be presented from 6th February, and the plan of action will be announced as a separate video today in YouTube channel. Several students are asking for it in Telugu, right? So this is all what I would like to say, and the most important is UPSC prelims modules are starting from 6th February, and next 100 days from 6th February you will see wide ranging topics discussed in a comprehensive way, right? This is what I would like to mention. And when you look at today's editorial discussion, 5 issues are there. All 5 are equally important, right? And the first one we are going to deliberate is, examine various steps required to prevent the spread and subsequent deaths due to seasonal flu. Due to the seasonal flu, people call about H1N1, H3N2, Influenza A, Influenza B, all these are examples of seasonal flu. This is because of virus. This spreads during certain seasons. That's why it is called seasonal flu. It is different from cold, and it has got number of traits in the human body, or you can say this influenza that causes cold, fever, body aches, headache, sore throat. All these are features, and this is seasonal flu because it spreads during certain seasons of the year, right? Several deaths are taking place because of this seasonal flu. And in this context, the question here is examine various steps required to prevent the spread and subsequent deaths due to the seasonal flu. Examine various steps required to prevent the spread and subsequent deaths due to the seasonal flu. Right. Seasonal influenza is becoming a major public health challenge every year. Right. In the last 2 weeks, there is increase in the infections. A number of states are being affected, and now there is better understanding of nature of active viruses. Right. And large scale vaccination covering high risk groups is the need of the hour, and that can reduce the impact of the viruses across the states. And friends, let us have a look at what is influenza A. Influenza A, influenza B, all these things quite often we discuss. Influenza A, or you can say, is a contagious respiratory infection. Contagious, spreads from one person to other person. In our country, proper etiquettes are not there. That means when you are going out, when you are affected by some flu or cold, you don't follow certain etiquettes. So that's why it spreads in the air, and because of that, other person is affected. Two things are very important. Proper etiquettes are not there in our country. Then second important aspect is hand wash, very, very important. Washing the hands quite frequently, because when some infection is there, some viral infection is there, it can spread through the hands. When you are touching the hands to the mouth, the nose, ears, then what happens? The infection can spread. So this is another important area which is missing in our country. Frequent washing of the hands, that is the important aspect. So two things are very important. One is proper etiquettes when we are going out, when some cough is there, right, when some sneezing is there, then proper etiquettes that is missing in our country. And second important aspect is washing the hands quite frequently to prevent the spread of the virus. And these influenza is nothing but it is spread through virus, right? So flu virus enters the body through nose, eyes or mouth. The important aspect is arms must be germ free. That is very, very important aspect. For that, frequent hand washing is required. And influenza A viruses are capable of infecting the animals, right? And we come across H1N1, H3N2, all these are subtypes of influenza A. And H1N1 has got the name of swine flu. Please don't forget, H1N1, it's quite often in the news, and it is nothing but a virus. It is a subtype of influenza A, and when people talking about influenza A, influenza B, all these things are because of virus. These are seasonal flu. The virus is spread in particular season, right? H1N1 is called swine flu because previously the people who got it had direct contact with the pigs. But now the contact with the pigs is not required, and now the virus is spreading among the people, right? So swine flu symptoms are cough, fever, sore throat, all these things. And in most of the influenza cases, the symptoms are almost similar. And the subtypes, what you call H1N1, H3N2, these are of influenza A, and these subtypes are based on the host of the origin, geographical region, strain in number, year of isolation, like that. So if somebody is talking about H1N1, H3N2, please don't forget, these are the subtypes of influenza A. Similarly, influenza B will have the subtypes. These are all in fact various subtypes when people are talking about H1N1, H3N2, like that, right? And there is one quadrivalent flu vaccine. It is to be given once in a year, right? So quadrivalent flu vaccine, it is designed to protect against 4 different flu viruses. That means 2 subtypes of influenza A, 2 subtypes of influenza B, that is known as this quadrivalent flu vaccine, right? So it takes care of 2 subtypes of influenza A, that is H1N1, or you can say swine flu, as well as H3N2, and it also takes care of 2 types of influenza B, right? That is known as quadrivalent flu vaccine, right? And now seasonal flu. What is the need of the hour? Certain aspects are required. One is the availability of quadrivalent vaccine. That is to be looked at, because at some places people are in fact doing it in the black market. Some people are looking at profiteering because non-availability of quadrivalent vaccine. Some people are taking the advantage in the black market, that is known as profiteering, and that must be contained by the government. Then large scale vaccination, right? Large scale vaccination of the high risk groups. Who are the high risk groups? High risk groups are health workers. And not only that, the persons affected because of diabetes and other diseases, they are highly vulnerable. So they must be vaccinated, right? So this is quadrivalent vaccine, which takes care of 4 subtypes of influenza. Then universal preventive program should be considered. Then quadrivalent vaccine can be made part of the public health system. Then one more important aspect is here, proper education of the masses, proper etiquettes and proper hand washing. These are to be improved so as to prevent the spread of these viruses. Then upgrading the existing vaccines is also another aspect, because they constantly mutate. That means viral mutation. So the composition of the virus, or you can say the mutation of the virus, often takes place. So therefore, what is important is upgrading the existing vaccines. And there are 41 virus research diagnostic laboratories in the country, and they can study the nature of infections so as to advise the scientific community. Then availability of antiviral drugs, that should be made part of the public health system. So these are important aspects the states should take care of so as to reduce deaths due to these things, right? And let us wind up the discussion here. I hope you got sufficient insight into seasonal flu. Look at the next most important item. Here we are looking at the environmental aspects of rat hole mining. Rat hole mining we already deliberated previously, and here open cast mining takes place in states like Jharkhand. In states like Jharkhand, open cast mining takes place, but in Meghalaya, there the coal seams are less thick. The thickness of coal seams is around 2 meters or so. So therefore, open cast mining which is being adopted in states like Jharkhand, Telangana, that is not in fact financially viable there. So therefore, people are resorting to this rat hole mining, right? They go through the holes, maybe 3 feet height or so, and inside they go and they bring the coal. That is rat hole mining. And in this lecture, we are going to deliberate on what are the environmental effects of rat hole mining, right? So acid mine drainage, most important word. So because of this, what happened? One is loss of lives. All of you are well aware. Many lives are being lost because of rat hole mining. That is one aspect. Second is environmental concern. There are several environmental aspects when one looks at acid mine drainage. Right, friends? Let us start with rat hole mining. I previously explained the coal seam here is less than 2 meters thick. So therefore, open cast mining is not financially viable. So here coal is being extracted through the small holes made horizontally, right? Sometimes a pit is dug. After that, some hole is made. Like that, the coal is being extracted. In fact, National Green Tribunal banned it in 2014 itself. Let us look at environmental aspects. Rathole mining poisoned 3 rivers, right? And why? Why poisoning is taking place? The most important aspect is acid mine drainage from the abandoned mines. Acid mine drainage. And what is this? This is outflow of acidic water from the coal mines, right? So here acid mine drainage refers to low pH value or acidic waters, right? Sometimes it happens due to the weathering of the rocks, right? Please don't forget, sometimes this acid drainage, or you can say acid mine drainage, or you can say this acid waters, or you can say low pH or acidic waters, that is caused because of the natural weathering of the rock. But most of the cases it is related to the mining activity. Here in the coal mining regions, here what happens, have a glance at it. After the Rathole, very important, after the Rathole is exposed to air and water, after the Rathole is exposed to air and water, what happens? Oxidation of the metal sulfides takes place. Very important, this acid mine drainage. Acid mine drainage is the real environmental concern in Meghalaya, right? It has got lot many metal sulfides. What happens? The Rathole is formed. After that, they abandoned it and it is exposed to air, it is exposed to water, and because of exposure to air and water, what happens? Here these metal sulfides, it happens, oxidation of these metal sulfides happens. Because of oxidation of the metal sulfides, the acidity is being generated. So therefore, pH of the water is reduced. That means it becomes acidic, and sulfate and iron concentrations will be there, and it deteriorates the rivers, right? The rivers are polluted highly because of high acidity and this is sulfate and iron concentrations, right? So acid mine drainage, another important aspect is acid mine drainage rendered even agricultural land non-productive, right? So thousands of abandoned mines are causing huge damage to the ecosystem, right friends? This is about Rathole mining environmental concerns, right? Most important is acid mine drainage, please do not forget, right? So there are 3,923 coal mines in one district with a geographical area of 2,126 square kilometers. And here see the case of Lafarge. This is the cement giant, you can say. It is extracting here this limestone from Meghalaya's East Khasi Hills district. Supreme Court said, please take care of the aspect of environmental loss and also look at the livelihoods of the people residing in 50 kilometers area, or you can say within 50 kilometers. But with regard to coal mine workers, or you can say there is no such restriction on the coal mine owners, right? Supreme Court imposed restrictions on Lafarge. That means it said, please take care of the livelihoods, please look at the environmental laws. But in this case, there are no directions to control the coal mine owners, right friends? Another important aspect is 6th schedule. This falls in the 6th schedule area. So why the 6th schedule is enacted? Basically, the purpose of the 6th schedule is to protect the community rights of the tribals from any form of exploitation of their land and resources. And it is not clear why Meghalaya is exempted from the national mining laws, right? And 6th schedule is for entirely different purpose. And citing 6th schedule, you cannot exempt Meghalaya from the national mining laws. Right friends, let us leave this discussion here. Next important aspect, this appeared in Indian Express yesterday and The Hindu yesterday. By clubbing these two articles, EVMs are standalone machines and difficult to hack. Do you agree with the statement? Give reasoned arguments. Electronic voting machines, there is a lot of debate going on, but the important point is they are standalone machines and difficult to hack. Do you agree with the statement and give reasoned arguments, right? If you look at EVMs, unfortunate aspect is the glitches and machine failures, because in recent times there are several glitches. That means machine failures are reported as hacking. What is the meaning of hacking? Hacking has got entirely different connotation than the failure of the machine, and sometimes the failure of the machines are being dubbed as hacked. Here, unauthorized intrusion into a computer network, or you can say unauthorized intrusion into a computer or a network is known as hacking. But unfortunately in the media, sometimes the failure of EVMs are reported as hacking. And you see the specific aspects pertaining to EVMs. Here, software written onto one-time programmable chip. It is burnt into the chip. That is software written into one-time programmable chips. Second beauty of these machines are they are not networked. Only here ballot unit is connected to the control unit and the VVPAT machine. That's all. The ballot unit, control unit, VVPAT machine, they are connected. Other than that, they are not networked. So this important aspect is it is not networked. Then lack of any frequency receiver or wireless decoder that will allow for communication externally. That means EVMs, they don't have any frequency receiver or the wireless decoder. So therefore, due to the lack of these things, it cannot allow for the communication externally, because there is no frequency receiver, there is no wireless decoder, right? Then there are rigorous checks at various levels after manufacture, during deployment. Then another important aspect is randomization of deployment of machines. Randomly they are selected. Particular set of machines will not be sent to particular assembly constituency. So therefore, if you look at the technology front, if you look at administrative front, there are several safeguards, and if at all hacking can be done, that is possible only by some insiders. Who are manufacturing them? They are manufactured by Electronics Corporation of India Limited and Bharat Electronics. These two are manufacturing them, and it can be done. That means some mischief can be done by the officials of ECI or employees of the EVM manufacturers. And the introduction of malicious software at the chip burning stage, if at all any malicious software that is to be introduced, that can be done at the chip burning stage itself, right? But randomization of the machines, that means the machines, which machine will go where, that is not clear. So therefore, it is not that easy to introduce this malicious software at the chip burning stage, because that machine goes where nobody knows at that stage. Because of these safeguards, here it is not easy to hack the machines. So if you see, if the officials are colluding, technically it may be possible, but practically it is not possible, you can say, because randomization of the machines, which machine goes where, it is not clear, right? And how an electronic device can be hacked? First one is wired connection, right? Electronic device, it may be wired connection or wireless connection, right? In order to hack a machine, best way is wired connection. But in this case, there is no wired connection. That means hacking a device through a wired connection means designing another electronic device which is able to send specific pattern of information, but they are not wired. Standalone machines, they are not networked, they are not wired, they are not networked, and the important aspect is they are connected to control unit and VVPAT machines. That's all, right? And another important aspect is how can you do wireless hacking? To do wireless hacking, what you need is physical connection with the device. That means through a wireless link, because we are discussing two aspects. One is wired connection, but they are not connected, they are not networked, that is ruled out. And second one is wireless connection, right? Let us see whether it is possible or not. In order to hack a device using a wireless link, here it requires a radio receiver which comprises an electronic circuit and antenna. So, to hack it through the wireless means, what is important is one is electronic circuit and second one is antenna. And Election Commission says EVMs do not have any such electronic circuit. So, what is important? To hack it wireless way, that means to hack it in the way, that means normally electronic devices are hacked. In the wireless mode, here what it requires is electronic circuit and antenna. But Election Commission says it does not have any such electronic circuit. And one more thing can be done to hack it in a wireless way. Here a transceiver, this is ultra small, and a transceiver can be installed. A transceiver along with antenna, it can be hacked, right? But designing such a small transceiver, very important, designing such a small transceiver and integrate with the electronic voting machines is very difficult task, right? So, it is a transceiver, it is ultra small, and to insert it in the electronic voting machine, here one needs millions of such specially designed transceiver sets. Listen carefully, previously we told to hack it in a wireless way, electronic circuit and antenna are required, but the Election Commission said the machine does not have any such electronic circuit. And still, to extend our discussion, a transceiver, ultra small artificially insertion, or you can say a transceiver that is very small, that can be inserted into the electronic voting machines. But here such advanced electronic devices are quite complex, and only around half a dozen companies in the world have expertise in designing such a device at the chip level, right? And if at all antenna is there, that will be visible, right? Once you open up the electronic voting machine, if at all antenna is there, that will be visible. So, therefore, transceiver is in fact costly. Not only that, to design and to insert that small miniature thing to hack the electronic voting machine, it requires high technology, complex technology. Only half a dozen companies in the world can manufacture it. And not only transceiver, it requires antenna, and even to receive communication at high frequency, the antenna size will be 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter by 0.5 centimeter. So, therefore, if you open up the electronic voting machine, then you can see this antenna, because antenna cannot be made too miniature, right? So, therefore, the important aspect to note here is a miniature transceiver can remain hidden, but antenna can be seen because of its size. So, therefore, whatever way you look at it, it is not easy, it is not possible, right? So, what is the need of the hour? The need of the hour is VVPAT machines. VVPAT machines, at least 10% of the slips should be cross-checked, right? So, this is all about the electronic voting machines. Let's look at the next important news article. This is about water conservation fee. The government decided to impose water conservation fee, and in this context, examine to what extent it would facilitate judicious use of groundwater. The most important aspect is agriculture is excluded, and agriculture constitutes the usage up to the extent of around 90% of groundwater, right? So, please have a glance at it. CGWEA, what is CGWEA? CGWEA is Central Groundwater Authority. And please don't forget, this is established based on Environment Protection Act 1986. CGWEA, that is established based on Environment Protection Act 1986, and it is under the Ministry of Water Resources. This is one important aspect. And from June 1, 2019, there will be water conservation fee. What are excluded? Excluded are agriculture sector, defense sector, individual households. These are excluded, and primarily industries extracting groundwater, including mining, and at the same time the packaged drinking water firms, they will also be charged. Individual households are exempted, but big apartment complexes which draw water with pipe greater than 1 inch, they are liable to pay water conservation fee. So what is excluded? Agriculture is excluded, defense is excluded, individual households are excluded, but it is proposed to be imposed on the industrial sector, mining sector, packaged drinking water, then big apartment complexes which use the pipe greater than 1 inch diameter. So therefore, these are the important aspects from June 1, 2019 with regard to water conservation fee. And most important aspect, or you can say the beauty of this development, is the money, or you can say the cost varies from the place to place, or you can say the cost varies depending on the place. That is the important aspect, right? Have a glance at it. Rate will vary from rupees 1 to rupees 100 per cubic meter of water extracted. Cubic meter means 1000 liters. Per 1000 liters, the cost vary from rupees 1 to rupees 100. Why there is difference? There is difference because of the reason the country is divided into 4 regions, or you can say various areas or various blocks are divided based on safe, semi-critical, critical, overexploited, or you can say the government classified the groundwater blocks as assessment blocks, and assessment blocks are from safe, semi-critical, critical, overexploited. So in the safe block, the cost per cubic meter will be less. In the overexploited blocks, the cost per cubic meter will be high. So that is the differentiation, rupees 1 to rupees 100 per cubic meter, or you can say for 1000 liters of groundwater extracted. Right friends, have a glance at this slide. Whatever I explained, this is here. And agriculture, very important. Agriculture accounted for 90% of the groundwater extraction, and that is exempted. Right. So agriculture, which is accounted for 90% of groundwater, is exempted. Right. So this is the important aspect. And one more important aspect is here 228 billion cubic meter. That is the average water extraction per annum for agriculture. So agriculture is 228, and for other purposes it is just 25. Right. So some critics say excluding agriculture may not solve the problem of depletion of the water table, because agriculture is using huge groundwater. Not only that, free power in several states. Because of free power in several states to the agriculture sector, here agriculture sector withdrawal of water from the ground, that is excessive and more than required. What is the need of the hour is judicious extraction of groundwater for agriculture. That is the need of the hour. Because of free power in several states, the farmers have got the tendency to use more water than required, to draw more water than required. That is the important aspect which is missed from this discourse. Right friends, it is anyhow a good beginning, right? And let us look at what prompted the government to take the decision, or you can say what prompted the government to make a good beginning. It is a good beginning, no doubt. And look at 2-3 important points. I would like to point out NASA's recent findings. NASA's recent findings say here India's groundwater table is declining at the rate of 1 feet per year. India's groundwater table is going down. every year on an average 1 feet, it is going down, then farmers are suffering. Farmers in some of the dryland areas, they are going up to 200 feet, 300 feet, 400 feet, but no water, right? It is happening in Vidarbha region, Telangana region, right? Then second important aspect is, if the present situation persists, Niti Aayog paper says that it will affect 6% in the GDP. That means India's growth will be affected to the extent of 6% if this issue is not resolved as per the Niti Aayog paper, right? And close to 32% of the blocks are already classified as semi-critical or over-exploited, right? Nearly 85% of the rural drinking water schemes are based on groundwater, and if groundwater goes down, then drinking water to the rural habitations will be difficult. So these are number of problems. So that is the reason why government made a good beginning from June 1, 2019 to charge the water conservation fee. Please do not forget, this will be used for conservation of groundwater. Whatever money government is getting, that will be used for the conservation of groundwater, right? And now let us look at what is the way forward. A good beginning is made, no doubt, but it is not the final solution. What is the way forward? The first and the most important aspect is the policies should promote judicious use of water. Most important is agriculture. In agriculture, power subsidy, that needs a review, right? That means power subsidy may be given, but it should be linked to some judicious use of water. Second point is drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, they should be promoted so as to conserve water. Then there should be the movement, community based groundwater management, very, very important. That means water user associations. In rural areas, water user associations must be formed, and the judicious use of groundwater must be handed over to the water user associations, or you can say community based management. Then another point is, just like Swachh Bharat mission, there must be mass awareness campaign for promoting judicious use of groundwater, right? So there should be groundwater conservation movement. Basically, it should look at consequences of over exploitation, right friends? There is a need for mass movement, and there is a need for awareness campaign. There is a need to promote judicious use of water in agriculture, or you can say behavioral change is required, just what has been brought in Swachh Bharat mission, right friends? This is a way forward, and judicious use is to be promoted. That is possible through behavioral change and community participation. Community must be made aware about the judicious use of water, right friends? After discussing about this important issue, next issue, this is with regard to the search for a Lokpal, right? This is not critical appraisal, but what is happening with regard to Lokpal? Lokpal at the center, Lokayukta at the level of the states, and Lokpal includes everything. Public servant, that means right from Prime Minister, right up to Group D employee, all will be brought under the Lokpal once the institutional mechanism is enforced, right from the Prime Minister, right up to the Group D employee. This article is not critical appraisal. Whether it will serve the purpose or not, we are not discussing. We are just looking at chronological sequence. At the same time, what happened during the past few years. Quite often Lokpal is in the news, and in that context, chronological sequence is looked at in this article, but it's not a critical appraisal, right? And what is the purpose of Lokpal? Lokpal purpose is to create institutional mechanism so that the corruption allegations against the public servants. Public servants include right from the Prime Minister right up to the Group D employee. Against these public servants, whenever any corruption allegations are there, they will be looked at with a separate institutional mechanism. That is the main purpose of Lokpal, right? Whatever the reason, the institutional mechanism is not put into force, right? It was notified on January 1, 2014, 5 years passed, but still there is no institutional mechanism, and it appears that the governments are somehow delaying this. Not only this government, this issue pertains to long back. Each and every government is somehow delaying the Lokpal, right? And let us look at the present news item. After that, we will go to the chronological sequence. What is the present news item? Present news item is Supreme Court asked the 8-member search committee. Here, search committee will be there. Search committee will recommend the names, and these names will go to the Prime Minister committee. So, Prime Minister committee is the selection committee headed by the Prime Minister, and that committee will decide, right? So, this search committee is search for the names for chairperson as well as members of the Lokpal. That is the purpose of the search committee. So, search committee, what Supreme Court said is, there is a delay, no doubt, but what Supreme Court said to the search committee is, please send the names of the probable candidates for Lokpal to the selection panel by the end of February, right? Here, the shortlist is to be sent to the selection committee headed by the Prime Minister. So, please don't get confused. Here, there is one 8-member search committee. Search committee will look at who are the probable members to become chairman of Lokpal, at the same time members of the Lokpal, and these names will be recommended by the search panel, or you can say probables will be taken, and that list will be given to the selection panel headed by the Prime Minister. And that selection committee will finally zero in on who can be the chairperson, who can be the member. That will be decided by the selection committee headed by the Prime Minister, right? So, this was passed long back, President's assent on January 1, 2014, right? And here, once the search committee submits the recommendation, then selection committee will consider those names and forward the recommendations to the President for consideration. And selection committee is chaired by the Prime Minister, and members are Lok Sabha Speaker, Leader of the Opposition in the Lok Sabha, Chief Justice of India or the judge nominated by him, and an eminent jurist as nominated by the President. So, this is the selection committee. Now, the issue is with the search committee. After search committee, it will go to the selection committee. After selection committee, it will go to the President for consideration. This is the process. We are at the first stage itself, right? And let us look at the chronology. Lokpal bills were introduced number of times, but they could not be passed till 2013. As I have already told you, the Lokpal is somehow delayed deliberately in independent India. Not only this government, each and every government is not interested in Lokpal, right? And during 2011-13, at that time, there was a lot of public anger, and Anna Hazare, in fact, he came up with Jan Lokpal bill, and at that time, government was also facing several corruption allegations, and there was a lot of public pressure, and at that time, the previous government, in fact, passed the bill in 2013. After that, it was notified on 1st January 2014, and you see, after 2014, 1st January, nothing much happened, right? During 2014 to 17, no action by the government due to no leader of opposition, right? And he is the leader of the largest opposition party, but not leader of opposition, because the Congress party do not command 10% of the seats in the Lok Sabha. So, it does not get the status of leader of opposition. So, therefore, Mallikarjun Kharge is the leader of the largest opposition party, right? And there was controversy. With this controversy, the issue is delayed. In April 2017, finally, the Supreme Court said there is no legal bar on the selection committee moving ahead even if there is one vacancy. After that, things started moving and the government made the Congress leader in the Lok Sabha as a special invitee, but he is not interested, he is not attending the meetings. And the case of this leader of the opposition, this is a very minor issue, and this was resolved when one looks at appointments to posts like CBI director. It is not a major issue, it can be resolved. But due to one or the other reasons, the government is delaying this Lokpal, right? And here, what are the stipulations for Lokpal? Here it provides Lokpal at the central level, headed by the chairperson, and similarly, each and every state shall establish this Lokayukta within a period of 1 year from the date of the commencement of the act, right? And here, if you look at the center, chairperson should be the person who is or has been a Chief Justice of India, or who is or has been a judge of the Supreme Court, or an eminent person who fulfills eligibility criteria. And of its other members should not exceed 8, but 50% should be judicial members, provided there are other stipulations for members belonging to SCs, STs, women and others, right? And it includes the Prime Minister, as I have already told you. And here Lokpal shall inquire or cause an inquiry to be conducted on any allegation of corruption made against the Prime Minister. But there are some exceptions when it involves international relations, external and internal security, public order, atomic energy and space. There are some exceptions, and there are let down procedures stipulated when it involves the Prime Minister. These stipulations are mentioned here, right? And if you look at this Lokpal, it has got inquiry wing and prosecution wing. Inquiry wing and prosecution wing. So the inquiry wing is headed by Director of Inquiry for the purpose of conducting preliminary inquiry, and this prosecution wing is headed by Director of Prosecution for the purpose of prosecution of public servants in relation to any complaint by the Lokpal under this act. Right friends, here inquiry wing and prosecution wing. Another important aspect is chairman and members of the Lokpal, they also come under the category of public servants. This is another most important aspect. Right friends, we had the sequential aspects pertaining to Lokpal and critical appraisal of Lokpal Act. We will discuss in some other class. This is with regard to what is being happened as far as Lokpal is concerned. Right friends, this concludes today's editorial discussion, and happy Republic Day once again, and have a happy weekend. Thank you.